o'clock, I will call the workshop meeting to order. We'll do roll call. Nikki?
Here.
John?
Here.
Melinda?
Here.
Tiffany is absent. Jason is absent. Kelly?
Here.
Myself is here. All right. First item on the agenda is the consideration to approve the updated faculty and staff handbook for 2025-2026. Just be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the handbook. I'll second it.
All right, at this time, opening up for conversations. Is there questions from what we saw? I think there was more grammatical stuff that just need to be adjusted. I think we're
I think the
good.
biggest thing that needed to get adjusted was the end times for the school year. And the first edition we got back to us didn't have it, but the new one does.
I checked some of the emails too, and those link correctly. The names are spelled correctly. Yeah. They link correctly.
Perfect.
I spot checked.
Mine was incorrect as of yesterday,
Yes.
but we got that fixed. So
Okay.
that was it. Yeah, I didn't notice anything. I went through it. Like I said, I didn't read word for word, but formatting looked good.
Yeah, format was
Okay. I'm in. Thanks.
Okay. So motions on the table. Everything looks good, so we'll be looking for a vote to approve. All those in favor to approve. Anyone opposed? All right. Next on the agenda is Neola Policy Update 33-2, first read with Tim Vanek from Neola. So really this is our opportunity to just field some questions with him and kind of go through that list that we compiled in the Google Docs. So
Was this Google Doc shared with Tim?
that I don't know.
That would be helpful. Probably good.
I do not know if Sandy shared it with him.
I don't. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
This is Tim. Good evening to all. I don't know if you can see me or hear me.
working on it, not yet.
We
I
can,
can hear you.
yeah.
I can hear you, not see you, yes.
You can hear me. Okay. Well, that's a good start. Yeah, I don't think I received any Google document
I'll
with
send
the
it right.
policies. Do you all have access to board docs in the draft?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we could work from that document.
Okay.
I just sent it to you, Tim. I don't know how easy it is to go to your email.
Go to my email.
Yep.
Okay.
If you're kind of looking for that, so we have the policy spelled out, and then underneath, if there's any questions, we have the questions there.
All right. I do see the email. It just came in. Okay. All right. So I do see a breakdown. Okay. Well, it would actually be fastest if I would go back to the board doc site. And then, for example, Melinda, you made a comment for policy 0164 about you preferred option number 1 for virtual attendance. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if I could be the person doing the editing while you tell me what you want or want to change, and then if there are questions, we certainly can just address the questions. But what I'm seeing here looks like you want some editing done according to your thoughts. Am I reading that correctly?
No, I think I was just looking for just option 1. for virtual attendance. But
Yeah, I don't understand. I guess I'm still not clear on.
so like where it says the first screen portion, a board member may attend virtually in attendance. But I think that the board probably needs to discuss that one before you change it. I was just looking at maybe not having that option, but it looks like in option 2 that you could have virtual attendance if the board agreed. So then
Correct.
any board, yeah. So do we have to have that first box checked? And then can we just okay as a board when virtual would make sense?
Yes, you have option 2 selected. So you have to choose one or both is what the drafting note is saying. So if you don't want as a board option 1, that's fine. We'll leave that out. But then
You said-
option 2 does still allow virtual attendance where a member is unable to attend in person. And then the board member is responsible for making advance arrangements with the district administration to facilitate participation in the meeting, remote access during quasi-judicial functions, for example, termination hearings or expulsions. Those may be permitted after consultation with legal counsel, because that would have to be like what you're probably used to hearing is a closed session of the board. Okay. So what you have selected really, to me, indicates as a board, you really want to have everybody meeting face to face. But if there are some exceptions where a board member is not able to attend, option 2 does give that board member the opportunity to virtually still participate.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
And that's the regular meeting, but now the next checkbox is referring specifically to closed session, correct?
That is correct.
And
That
that's
next
where
section is specific to a closed session, right?
a board member may only attend a closed session in person. We selected the check unless the board members are
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you may not want to
That
allow
check,
anyone
right?
to attend a closed session virtually.
I had concerns with that, I guess. We lose a lot of control over
Mhm.
the audience.
Yeah.
Even if they're telling us no one else is in the room or whatever, it's not being recorded.
Well, and I don't think it's about necessarily this might, like currently who the board is, I'm thinking of the policy. Like withstanding over time, it's probably a better practice to all be in person and then, yeah, my thought would be that we would want to all those things that people are attending. You know what I mean? We would schedule them so everybody could be in attendance. So that is why I'm okay with selecting that they're physically in attendance. Did I?
Yep.
Being clear.
So what I'm hearing is you're okay with option 2. However, you'd like to potentially uncheck the unless the board member verbally represents blah, blah,
Correct.
blah.
That- I would feel comfortable with that. Any thoughts or?
I would be fine with it. I think plus, even if you had legal, say that we were going through something in closed session, like you don't have control of the device. You don't have control of who's in the room. You don't have somebody else could be recording, in earshot. You don't know, we talk about, security issues with just having it out. So.
All right. So if I'm hearing correctly, that whole paragraph is something you would like to strike.
Yep.
Okay. And to me, that makes sense because of what you selected up above
Okay.
with that option 2.
Okay.
Because option 2 still gives you that that potential of working with legal counsel and having, a board member be involved in a closed session if need be.
All right.
Okay, I'm making the edits as you are contemplating our next move here. So I just struck that entire paragraph that you were just talking about. Was there anything else on that policy 0164?
No,
I don't think so.
All right, so I'm saving that. Okay, so what's the next? Let's see here. I'll jump back over to the other document. 174, no issues. 2131, I don't see any issues. 2340. There's a question I see there. NV.
that's me. I
Okay.
don't know that. Oh, is this the busing?
District sponsor trips. Yeah. So is the question more related to how does the district actually navigate this policy language, or is it more what's the interpretation of the policy?
I think my question is just, do we have the right language to make sure that the way we currently do things is following policy? Because we send a lot of school-sponsored activities over the summer to various places, and they are not on buses. So I just wanted to make sure that all that language that we had selected, and there are certain spots where it was saying busing will be provided, or they must ride a bus. But we have instances where we're not providing busing.
So just to kind of give an example too, so WIA changed the contact rule, so there's more contact that coaches can have with kids over summer. So like, does our language match students driving to school? They're not really sponsored events, but they're
But we are
School
wearing
sports.
uniforms.
we're wearing Wrightstown uniforms.
So when I'm in the policy, you just had a lot of things like checked, and I was. Provided by regular. It was words like shall be provided, like, is that saying will be provided or can be provided? Maybe, I was just kind of stuck on little words that could change how you are defining or interpreting our policy.
Shall and may are very important words, even though they're just one word. So if it says shall, then it must be done. Okay. May is the flexible option.
So
Now,
there was
in
an
this-
instance when shall was in there.
yeah. Now, in a lot of our policies, there is an option between taking language that'll say shall be provided, or another option might be may be provided. That was not the case in this particular section of this policy. But I'm just trying to clarify it based on what you were asking about the word shall. And yes, if it says shall, then that is something the district must follow through. It's really like a legal element to the district's policy.
So under our current practices, when we send teams or FFA or clubs to state fair and they're wearing Wrightstown apparel and they're driving themselves, I guess, how do we make sure our language is protecting us?
Well, what if we would strike then the first two statement or sections there and go with the next one where it says a district shall assume transportation costs for all field, it jumps down to as approved by the district administrator. So then it has to be provided based on the district administrator making that decision.
So are we saying then, like, in the summer, if he says they can go, without transportation, it's fine? Like when, by checking that as approved by district administrator?
Well, how else are the kids gonna get there? Driving on their own? Is that what you were saying before?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think what I'm struggling with here too is this is like, feels like they're trying to write this document for a field trip or something like that's school sponsored, and these are like activities, like, so I feel like there's a difference there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
is there, like, when, if it would just said field trips, but when it also said or and
I re-
other district sponsored trips.
Right, trips is a weird word though, like from the, like, to me, I don't see a volleyball game as a field trip or a trip. So like, that's the question, like, is there a separate policy that covers
athletic.
athletics? Yeah, or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm struggling with, is I feel like this is very worded for field trips, like even the headings, it's the vibe I got. So I'm like, I get what you're saying, because, you know, summer sports, like, we'll take baseball, for example, there is absolutely no transportation.
Right.
Everybody's parents drive their kids, or as they get older, they drive. So I don't know if athletics has a separate policy. So that might, maybe that's the difference here, is this is talking, but like you said, is going to state convention for FFA a trip? Or,
District sponsored.
right, that's the question, like in my head at least,
Okay.
is that the same? But I don't know the answer to that question.
But then a little bit further down, it says the district will provide transportation for all other trips, including co-curricular, athletic, and
Okay.
other extracurricular trips,
Okay,
as
So what-
approved by district administrator.
so then does, like
So
Kim
that
said,
covers it?
because it's
Does
approved
that
by
cover
the
it?
administrator, does that cover
I
it?
don't, that was the question I had.
Okay.
And then if you go down another section or so, one of the options says all field trips shall be supervised by members of the staff. All other district sponsored trips shall be supervised by either staff members or adults from the sponsoring organization. Anytime students are on the vehicle, at least one sponsor, chaperone, or staff member is expected to ride in the vehicle, as well as to supervise students upon return to the district and while they are waiting for rides home. So with that being checked, that has to be followed then.
What are your examples of when this isn't being followed?
I mean, I think literally, like, while I was reading this that day, my daughter was wearing her volleyball uniform with the varsity volleyball team and driving up to Peshtigo. And then the next day they were driving to the Champion Center to play in a tournament with their
Was
volleyball
that-
coach.
Was that school volleyball or was that club
That was
volleyball?
school, Wrightstown varsity volleyball team.
And
FFA
we-
was in Madison, a bunch of the FFA kids were there. And
Is that-
I'm not saying what we're doing is wrong. I just want to make sure if that car full of kids gets in an accident,
Yeah,
You're
the
not
board's on,
liable.
yeah. I just wanna like,
so I would say it's happening a lot with high school sports. Like we mentioned with baseball.
but
So I
baseball,
know-
that's not even the high school team anymore, because that's not
Baseball's
registered through the
big group,
school
right,
and
like
that's
the-
all.
Right,
it's
so that's
co.
WADA, that's
Yeah.
WADA, right?
Because
Okay, so
volleyball,
that-
I'd imagine we have the WIAA season, but the school isn't responsible outside of WIAA season for
Right,
everything.
but they got, the contact days have changed. So like this tournament well, I'm not sure.
Contact days have changed, so coaches and stuff can get involved with it, but is
Right,
it,
but so when they can increase their contact days, they can do tournaments, but there's no busing for it.
yeah,
So they're driving.
so how is that, how does that fit into here? I guess I'm asking,
Cause yeah, it's
Tim.
happening with FFA and it happened with, there was one other thing that was more of a club where they all went
and I
somewhere.
know like football does, they do Sunday nights in Kakana.
Yeah,
That's right,
Saturday,
that's
Saturday.
housing league, but and can we get around it by saying these are all summer activities, they're not mandatory? But as
Or-
parents, we all kind of know how that goes, it's not mandatory, but it is, right? I don't know.
Or
I just-
by like what Tim's saying, are you saying to uncheck the box that says
The district shall provide.
shall provide vehicles, drivers? Or all field trips shall be supervised by a member of the staff. Like, what's the best way to approach this?
I think ultimately is the district sponsoring it? Is the district spending money for these teams to participate or the players? Are you as
I
a
don't
parent paying for
understand.
your daughter to play volleyball? The high school coach may be involved and have a coaching spot in it, but did this district sponsor it or did you
Well, they're
pay
wearing,
out of pocket?
I guess in my head, they're wearing their varsity uniform. That appears to be district sponsored, right?
Oh, no.
Tim, can you give a little bit of oversight on what other districts are doing with this policy?
Most districts, and I think at the persuasion of their legal counsel, have really tried to narrow the scope of transportation of students in district sponsored events to the district always providing the vehicle and the driver and the chaperones. The reason for that is obviously the litigation and liability risk. So with some of the examples I'm hearing come out, and I don't know if they are club sports or what, but when you start having students driving on their own and no adult supervision or chaperone in the vehicle, that most legal counsel representatives would say that's very risky districts by doing that. So that's the angle that a lot of districts are taking. Some will say, you know what, if we don't have enough vehicles because of the bus driver shortage, we don't have enough drivers for the school vehicles. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a school bus. It could be a school van or some other vehicle that may not be a full-size bus. Okay. But the reality is that there's just a lot of concern about the liability risks if you don't have a certified driver for the type of vehicle that you have. And having students drive to a district-sponsored event is pretty risky.
That's where my question of how is
What
this
is
team
the
really
district?
formed? They may be wearing the uniform, but cool, the school donated, the school donates field use for the baseball team, but it's not the school sponsoring Wobble. For the kids to play
Well, it
baseball there.
insures it.
Well, I'm sure, right? So
Yeah.
if you guys are taking money, the school's paying for them to participate in that tournament, that's definitely district sponsored. And I believe should fall under here and we should provide transportation through it. If it's the girls in some club format that's funding it and participating in it,
But I don't.
they're
know
wearing our equipment, but that's just an equipment donation. That's
But I don't
not
know
a
if there's-
sponsorship.
Any payment, because the schools kind of have an understanding they all want to improve their kids. So
Well,
I don't
someone's
know.
gotta be running and paying for
In some
referees
cases, the-
and
in some cases, the girls take turns and they're the ones like,
so it's
Or
more,
officiating, yeah.
more, less just being open gym. It's not.
So when we have coaches though, telling the kids they have to go.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure we're covered. I mean, is there an option to just add the language of like during the school year?
I think the only way you would get around this, if it is an issue, if it's a athletic or, a coach requires
Yeah.
a student to be there, then do the parents have to sign a release to drive?
I think if it's gonna be athletics, it's gotta be, well, that's very weird too, because it's like trap shooting and things like that out in
Like I said, we
WIA.
have
It's not
FFA
really-
kids going all over this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just sports. It's
and they're great opportunities. So
Absolutely,
you do not,
yes.
I do
Yeah.
not want to give the impression to like hinder that stuff, but like, just
We
to
just
make
have
sure
to make sure.
everything's done correctly.
Yeah, I would say it's, like, in my opinion, it's district sponsored once the district's putting money for that person to be there. If the district's not passing money and it's just an encouragement of, oh, cool, yeah, there's some event that is going on, you can go, it should be you can. I would say, I don't know if I want to add anything for sporting events that have to be specifically WIA, sporting sponsored events, something like that. That gets us out of the summer piece, because you can't say out of school, because some of the state championships and stuff like that take place out of school.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a tough one.
yeah, and the football season starts out before school starts.
Or again, like, there is that checkbox that said administrative approval or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if,
The district administrator doesn't approve summer volleyball, then
yeah, if they
Mhm.
are aware of it and say, fine, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't, like I said, I don't want to ruffle feathers either and like take
Right.
opportunities away from our kids, but I just want to make sure we're.
But you're right, what would happen if 4 high school girls on the way to Peshtigo got in a car accident.
Mhm.
So it's a legitimate concern. It's just who's responsible for that? And there's a lot of pieces moving in there as far as coaches requiring it, like you said. And travel.
So Tim, at this point, I mean, is this maybe one of those that we would want to converse with legal on a little bit, or?
Especially if there's past practice, as I'm understanding your conversation, which may be breaching this language, then, so I guess what my recommendation would be this: find out what's the extent of the summer, especially these summer programs where students are driving themselves, and get as best you can get a definitive answer. Is it truly district sponsored, or is this not district sponsored? And yes, I think it would be good to have your district's legal counsel weigh in on this, because the liability risk for any kind of transportation of students is, as you know, very, very large.
So I think we should also, I can show this policy to Craig, and then we can,
Yeah,
Craig,
That might help.
Yeah.
Tim Craig is our athletic director.
Sure.
And just so that we can get an idea of what's actually happening. And then we can go from there and run that by legal and bring that back.
I think clarity on what is a district sponsored activity. That's a key piece to that.
Tim, I mean, within this policy, hearing this, are there other policies that maybe were not active or that would cover some of this, that, you know, that it's a combination of two that spells out, you know, two different policies, but spells out different expectations for a school trip versus, you know, sports?
No, with that particular issue that you just described, this is the policy.
Okay.
Now there are some policies in the 8,000 series that gets to other issues of transportation, like with a bus contractor, or if you have your own busing, school buses. But to that point you just mentioned, this is the policy right here.
Okay.
Also, I'll just point out that above that section where we were talking about the options starting, there's a paragraph that talks about what would be proper notification to the parents in case you are going to take something that has been where students have been driving themselves to, let's say, the volleyball game like you're talking about earlier, and now all of a sudden next year students aren't allowed to do that anymore. So parents might wonder, well, what's going on? What changed? So in that paragraph I'm speaking of, it's saying there that the communication needs to be clearly communicated to the parents that the trip is not district sponsored, and that the individual or the student, the individual is not participating within the staff individual's role. So that's very important to make sure that parents understand the reason why.
Yeah, I think it's called out there in the trips not sponsored by the district section. If coaches are saying you need to be there, that is them, I think, acting as saying you need to be there, and they should not be doing that. Coaches are doing
Yeah.
that, then they're violating the policy here. We're not providing that transportation. If we're not gonna provide that transportation, it's not district sponsored.
Right. And I think what Dan had
Yeah,
suggested,
Yeah.
then that just needs to be made clear, like, coaches need to remember everything has to be optional
Mhm.
in the summer,
yeah,
which I think can sound, they do-ish.
So Tim, how would we handle a situation if our policy requires us to provide transportation, but say we need a bus and the bus company is not able to provide that bus? Do we have to then?
that's where I was saying earlier that some clients have told me, even during the school year, let's say it's a JV basketball game, middle of winter, and they just can't get enough bus drivers. So I've had some different district administrators tell me that they've had to reschedule athletic events because there just was no driver. They chose to not go an optional route of having students drive or having parents drive the kids or whatever. They just chose to reschedule because they felt it was that important for the risk management element of providing a bus that either the district owns or the contracted busing contractor owns, along with the required adults on the bus for supervision.
Okay, thank you.
It's not everyone, but I've had at least 2 or 3 clients tell me that this past year.
Sorry.
Okay, well, we'll do some homework on that one next then.
Do you want me to put a note on this one as far as certain follow-up that needs to be done?
Yeah, that'd be great.
What should I put in there that would be a good prompt? What kind of a note?
I think confirmation of distinguishing what's school sponsored versus non-school
Expectation of
sponsored
school-sponsored
and expectation of attendance by those involved.
Okay. I'm having some problems with my my touchpad. All of a sudden stopped working this afternoon, and I'm trying to get my mouse to work.
Mhm.
There we go. All right, so follow up on distinguishing between district and non-district activities. Okay. All right. Going back to the Google Sheet, let's see what we got next there. Looks like nothing in the employment of substitutes. Letter F. I see the word may is highlighted in yellow. Was there a question surrounding that?
I think in the doc or in the actual policy, it says will.
Okay, I'll go back and look at that.
Yeah, the activities select director will vet the candidates and conduct interviews, which will include another member of the administration. I hard want that to be named.
Yes, so when our athletic director interviews candidates, he does not always have another administrator with him. So that would hinder his ability to interview. So he was hopeful that we could change that to May.
Well, how important is it to have the activities director stated in policy about vetting the candidates? Because if you didn't feel that was critical to have in policy, we could just strike that entire sentence.
Sure.
Or we could just change the will to may, as you had said earlier.
If we strike that entire sentence, would we replace it with one of the other
Yeah, done.
selections?
Not necessary, no.
Okay.
Below that, it says drafting notes, select either option 1 or 2, but that's further down. That's not relevant.
I would be fine with striking the whole thing,
What?
because it states in above that employment of coaches in sports governed by WA shall be consistent with WIA rules and guidelines.
I think this was my little bit of concern with this one is, don't we want some of these selected so we have a process? Like, I don't want to take like Craig still makes the ultimate decision, but I feel like there should be a process to kind of protect him.
Is it covered by the bottom though, saying the district administrator or designee, is he technically the designee, is responsible for making employment decisions? The very last checkbox on that.
Yeah, but like, if you go up to where it says, as openings occur, they shall be noticed in appropriate locations. So that kind of goes to like, do we post extracurricular? I mean, I just feel like I've heard these gripes before, that sometimes we just hand jobs out or coaching positions without actually
We're not,
adhering to a
there's not a
process.
vetting process, so to speak. It's more of a, hey,
You want this?
you used to play baseball, you want to coach? I mean,
But I think selecting that option would, require, the athletic director to vet and interview.
Can I jump
You know,
on a devil's
sure.
advocate on this one a little
Yeah.
bit? Just, we have one athletics director, and
Yeah.
with the amount of turnover and change in some of these places, which causes some difficulty. If you have, if you were to lose an athletic director right now, and you or a bunch of coaches or something like that, and the policy said that person had to do it, I don't know what you would,
You're
who would you
frozen.
designate in order
Yeah.
to follow your own policy in order to be able to make sure that you have people hired appropriately. So if the administrator, district administrator could choose to designate a particular person that allows you some clarify, it doesn't mean you don't have a process. It just means that you don't have to go change your policy quickly, or I maybe Tim would say it differently. To me, it seems like it would make more sense to allow some flexibility in who gets to
Yeah.
enact such process, if you get what I'm saying. So it's not bound by that one specific job where there's only one person who does it. It's a thought.
I'm okay with that option being selected. So that's that one under option 2.
Yeah, and then maybe not having the athletics director being
Right.
so specifically designated as the only individual who can do, or, kind of.
Yeah,
I was just rethinking some of those first ones though too, like, I don't want to make Craig's job harder, but I feel like we're protecting him if we,
at the very least,
Making
is
sure
it
there's a
our due
process.
diligence that they're at least being posted somewhere? Whether that's on the school website,
bulletin board in the building.
so the
or-
first, you want the first line not struck in, right? Not, the opening occur,
He wants to check that one, so.
as openings occur, they shall be noticed as a,
That makes
no, shall be noticed in appropriate locations, right?
more sense.
Yeah, I like that. The first one checked, and then that it's athletic director could be.
Or does it?
Or that, sorry,
District
option 2 is
administrator, yeah,
already checked.
option 2 then,
Yeah.
yep.
But then take away the first one and put it into the. Don't have the athletics director one be the one that's selected, instead select the first one.
Yes,
Yes.
That makes more sense from what is actually possible most of the time.
Mhm.
Comply with your own policy, it feels like.
Did you get all that, Tim?
The strike through sentence that says, as openings occur, they shall be noticed in appropriate locations. Did I hear you want that, that option included now?
Yeah.
yes, please.
that included,
Do you think Craig could object to that?
I guess the definition of appropriate locations would be the thing that I think you would have to. I don't know.
I remember,
Because at that point, so there's really, so right at this point in time, the designee is responsible for the employment decisions. That could be him when we have him, right? Or when we have a person, a designee.
I remember somebody from admin chiming in, talking about this last time, and they were saying like, most of these things are posted on social media website.
Mhm.
Like,
If you check that third one, sorry to interrupt,
No,
if you check
no.
the third one, that means
Craig has to.
he has to vet them.
And do the
And then
interview.
he also has to do the interviews, which includes another member of administration. So at this point, it's like Craig has to be available. He's got to vet him. He's also got to ask another administrator to also be available.
But we're
I feel like
talking
that's
about
worse.
removing that last piece
Yeah.
Okay.
so that he would vet them and interview them. But in this case, what we're talking about now is just saying we're going to post them, not saying his process is not going to be interviewed, but that would be,
But he's gonna post them, and at this point in time, if he's the designee, if you kept it the way we were just talking about it, or if we did it that way, then basically he would be the designee.
Yep.
basically every situation unless it's not available, right?
Mhm.
And then it would get posted,
Yeah,
and then, whatever the process is internally to handle, it would be what you would do, correct?
Yep.
Mhm.
That seems pretty reasonable, I think, from what you guys kind of say, for, I don't want to speak on behalf, but it feels like it's more reasonable than what's written here, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because at this point, he's gonna have to do done every,
Well, and at the middle school, that doesn't happen, right? And it didn't, the principal was hiring coaches for the most part. Otto doesn't even really.
But Otto could be vetting.
But like if.
But he could be the
check that, we're saying
designee.
he
if you
has
did
to,
that, you would
Yes,
have to.
yeah,
do
it would
that
have
kind
to
of
be,
thing.
which
You'd have to do
Yeah.
all
he's
the-
not, so.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
but I think
so-
our options are option one on the very top, which is as openings occur, they shall be noticed to appropriate locations. Strike through everything except for in option two, where we already have it selected, the district administrator or designee is responsible for making employment decisions for co-curricular, extracurricular positions.
Yes.
Got it.
Correct.
Good talk.
You know, some of the procedures that you're speaking of, that really is the district administrator may delegate procedures or protocols, but a number of districts that don't have the Neola administrative guidelines, they'll just have their own internal protocols or procedures. That's just a way that they can make sure that different levels of staff understand how to coordinate within this hiring structure.
Sure.
So I saved that with those changes. That one is done. All right, what's next? No issue.
5460.
Graduation requirements. Okay. So what does that mean, administrators Sarah, Eric, and Angie? Does that mean those three had questions on this, or?
I don't know if it was a question, if we have it covered, because it said a student graduating prior to 2028 must have participated in financial literacy, or what it goes to like spell out the credits, but I'm not sure what they meant by that.
Okay, I'm going to the policy.
So
Oh, I think what they're saying is because it goes in here, students earn 27 credits, where our requirement right now for this school year is 26.5. And then in 2027, it will be 27 credits.
If we'll get
So
there.
we don't specify that in this policy. Like, we don't have anything discerning the year of that change in our policy.
Yeah, the personal finance in the policy is listed. And that would be part of the 27 credits. Now, if you add up all those credits that are there, let's see, it'd be 12, 13, 14, 17, 20, 23, 27.
27, yeah.
27 credits. Is that
Which
what's
would be-
expected now, though, for this year's graduates in 2026?
26.5 is expected for this coming year's graduates.
Okay,
Approve this
Well-
policy, 27.
Correct.
that could
So
be
that's
a
concern number one.
sticking. That could be a sticking point then. So what I'm thinking as an option here, in the paragraph above that list of credits,
Yep.
wouldn't it make sense to say a student must earn 26.5 credits? And then we would go down to the personal finance area and put in parentheses behind that 0.5 credits to indicate that 2028 graduates, commencing with 2028 graduates, that 0.5 credit is required, whereas the 26 and 27 graduates, they do not have to take that half a credit. Is that correct?
Well, 27 does. So graduating class of 2026 would have a requirement of 26.5 credits to graduate. Graduates of the class of 2027 would have a requirement of 27 credits in order to graduate.
Oh yeah, I see now back looking at the
And
chart.
every class thereafter, right, Wayne? That's,
Yeah.
that's the threshold.
Yep.
I just know the two high school.
And then is the finance requirement staying, going away? What is the decision? Do you know what I'm saying? Because it
Yeah.
seems to talk about graduating in 2028, but does it mean like that's going away, that requirement? Am I understanding that correctly?
No.
I think that they've established, I'm gonna guess that something's changing in 2028. And after 2028, as far as the
finance.
requirements,
It's
yeah,
required.
yeah,
So it's two separate issues, right? One is the number of credits,
total credits, yeah.
right? So for 2027, or I'm sorry, 2026 will be different than 2027. And then 2027 going forward will all be 27 credits.
Yep.
It's weird because I keep saying 27.
I know.
And then would there be separate verbiage about the finance
And then,
requirement?
and then anyone graduating prior to 2028 has the financial literacy requirement in order to earn their diploma. And that's probably based off of the academic standard.
And I just posed the question, like, how do we?
So could you change the top to 26.5 and then say a student graduating after 2026 must have
Or
to-
2027 and thereafter must have
Yeah.
27
Yeah.
credits.
Oh, yeah.
And then leave the bottom statement, should be fine on the financial
Yes.
literacy.
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be 26.5 in the parentheses. Is that correct?
Yep. But there needs to be, we need to discern from graduating class of 2026 to 2027.
Yes. And is the difference there the 0.5 credit for the personal finance class?
No, they're two separate issues. So one is
Yeah.
just the sheer number of credits. They're raising the number of credits that graduates would need in 2027 to 27 credits. But that personal finance option is no longer going to be required after 2028.
Correct.
Does that make sense, Tim?
The personal finance is not an option. That's state required though.
So then it should be students graduating prior to and thereafter.
So is that why that's highlighted?
Like, why is that?
Yeah, I don't know why it's highlighted.
Why is that even part of the policy? Is that something? new?
Well, it is a requirement, but has something changed with that requirement? Because the way it's highlighted, it makes you feel like it's gonna stop after 2028. Or the way it's stated, I should say.
Most of the school districts that I work with on this policy change, given the personal finance requirement that's coming up for the 2028 graduates, what they did was they put in parentheses behind the personal finance required, something like required starting in the with the 2028 graduates. And then if they didn't change their total number of credits, which is different than what you're saying, because you're going from 26 and after 27. But what they did with the electives, like in your case, they would say, okay, starting in 2028 graduates, they only need 11 credits. So that's what I saw most districts doing and how to manage that additional half credit of personal finance as a requirement. Then the district just lowered the number of elective credits, so the total number stayed the same. But it sounds to me like there's something else in the works here, some other variable that I'm still not grasping.
So I guess, Tim, for our purposes, can we get the 26.5 credits for graduates of 2026 and then 27 credit requirement for the graduates of 2027? And then can you look into that last statement on that first page, the financial literacy?
Raina, I also taped or asked Sarah Nelson for some clarification on that.
Okay.
Do you know anything about it, or how are we meeting it currently, or is it going away?
Can we start teaching them how to balance a checkbook? Because that would be nice.
So if we're only doing
used to.
26 and a half credits for this graduating year, we also have to update the table below to reflect 26 and a half credits.
Yeah, whichever. Assume you
Is
do
there
like a
electives is 1.5
parentheses of
Mhm.
11,
11 electives.
and then you'd go 2027, 11.5. It would be my guess. Something like that.
Okay, so I'm starting out the sentence of the paragraph above that list of different courses. A student, comma, graduating in 2026 must earn 26.5 credits. And then the rest of that sentence would remain the same. But then we're going to have to remove half a credit in that list. So where would that half a credit come from? Would it be the personal finance?
We were saying it was the electives.
Yeah, you'd make electives 11, right?
Okay. So we'll change 11.5 to 11.0 credits. And then that would equal 26.5.
Yep. And then in parentheses next to that, I think you're gonna have to go 2027, 11.5.
Or would we update
In
the policy?
electives.
Yeah, we just updated yearly until it's stable.
Would that policy get updated next year then?
Not necessarily from Neola's standpoint, but my suggestion would be maybe have that on a board calendar that you want to have the graduation policy reviewed and approved, let's say maybe next spring, like in March or April. Because then we're going to have to gear up for what is the paragraph up at the top of all these. Well, that'll be 27 credits now, right? We got to change that. And then we have to figure out from the counselors. I'm not really sure what the counselors or whoever's adding to that conversation on the Google Docs, if there's some other variable that we're not capturing here. But we want to make sure that is correct before the next school year starts.
Jim, is there a way we could make this policy like option, like how you have option 1, option 2? Could it be option 2026 graduates, option 2027 and following graduates? And then like write it out, so then next year when we review this, we could just select the other one?
Yeah, I would suggest getting the high school principal and the school counselors involved in that, because for some reason it seems like there's some other variable in this, and I can't put my finger on what that might be.
Okay.
I don't want to make an assumption on something, and then that would be one of the worst things to deal with. You know, somebody didn't have enough credits to graduate because the policy wasn't aligned correctly.
All right. So we're gonna put this, we would right now, without further information, this would not be something that we would change in besides the verbiage of the 2026 must earn 26.5.
Yes, the way this policy is written would just be for this next year's graduates. it doesn't reflect though for planning for the, you know, the younger class, the year of 2027 or 2028. So maybe that's what the previous question was asking. Can we have that scaffolded out so that, you know, the next 2 or 3 years classes can figure out what they will need to take?
Yep.
The counselors and the high school principal are the main players in that. So I don't know if the high school principal is there right now.
No,
He is not.
Okay. But that's key. I mean, the high school principal and those school counselors, they're the ones that intimately work with the students on making sure that all the proper coursework and the number of credits needed are what's there. So that would just be my suggestion. Have them read through this carefully also and see if they have any recommendations to change, just in case we are missing something here.
okay.
Is everybody okay on that one? I'll just make a note, follow up with high school principal and counselors.
Yep.
Please repeat the question.
Okay, so I saved that. I see there's some questions under academic honesty. Does our staff have the tools, professional development to do this? That would be an internal question.
I just felt like if we're gonna state that language in a policy, we have to make sure the staff is doing it. And, you know, like,
Yeah.
So anything else there on 5505? Hearing none, we'll move on to 5610. Angie had a statement.
do we,
So I think 5610 we're good on.
Okay. (561003). I don't see any issues there. 5771, search and seizure. I don't see any issues there. 7540.05. No issues there. 75.
Hang on, Tim, just real quick, I kind of early say that quickly with 5610, with the 561003, the section of students with disabilities looks good. So is that, because Angie's got there need to keep a statement in here.
For 561003 or 5610?
5610, she's got, in her need to keep a statement on, there's no longer information on students with disabilities, need to keep a statement. This policy reference referred to policy related to disciplining students with disabilities. 5605 policy is vague and indicates we will follow the law.
so then I asked her, so it's your recommendation that we keep the item that was struck out? And she said yes. I'm assuming she put yes in there.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I see struck out would be in the third paragraph under suspension,
Yeah.
Or
That
to-
green.
or 10 consecutive school days for each incident if the student is eligible for special ed services. Is that,
I
Is
think
that
that green statement is what she wants kept. Students identified with disability may be suspended in accordance with AG 5 5605.
Well, that was struck because AG stands for Administrative Guideline. And Wrightstown does not have the administrative guidelines. So that would be problematic if we referred to something that you don't have.
Oh, so we have to leave it struck out
Or we have
Yes.
to get an administrative guideline in place.
or.
Now you could develop your own guidelines. It doesn't have to be Neola's. I mean, but what I'm saying is you don't want to refer to 5605 guideline and not have it available because somebody
Yeah.
will call you on that and say, well, I want to look at this guideline. Where is it?
So if we verified that our special ed department has a process, or for lack of a better word, a guideline, could we change that to just say that they may be suspended in accordance with administrative guidelines? And you're not referencing a specific Neola guideline until such time we would implement that, but we would say that in our internal processes would define that.
Well, there's also the DPI special ed manual that I'm almost, I can't recall specifically, but whoever your special ed director is, I would imagine they are very familiar with that DPI manual. And that's what most school districts use and follow, which would include things like this. So that gives them more specific details. And you do have a policy that indicates that you follow the DPI special ed manual.
So we could reference the DPI special ed manual there in accordance with the DPI special ed manual or DPI regulations.
You could, but if you go to the top paragraph, that last sentence has an X in front of it, which is optional, and that says the board supports utilizing developmentally appropriate interventions and supports rather than exclusionary discipline for students in second grade or below. Now, it doesn't mean special ed necessarily, but appropriate interventions. So that statement, because it is selected there, indicates that the board does not have an approach of no tolerance. So that if a special ed student, for example, had a cigarette in their pocket, you're not going to suspend them for 5 days or expel them for that. That would be to the extreme.
But we need to add in specifically special ed students in that section. Otherwise it is restricted to second grade or below.
Yeah. The board can do whatever they want. I'm usually pretty comfortable though with what our attorneys have come up with. And they had some reason to strike out that special ed services under Chapter 115 in the Wisconsin statutes. So they made that recommendation of striking that out. That wasn't something I did. There must be some legal reason that maybe that statute changed or possibly the information somewhere else. I can dig a little bit deeper on that and see what I find out, because I don't know the exact answer as to why our attorneys wanted that struck.
So essentially, to Dan's point though, if we have our own administrative guidelines that meets that, can't we, the special ed, can we keep it and not have it reference 5605 and just put administrative guidelines in there, or is that not an option?
No, you can do that.
Or maybe the special ed handbook, state special ed instead too.
Well, it's not going to have the real specific as far as what is Wrightstown going to do. That would be, much more specific. The DPI is just providing more general guidance.
Their DPI is just providing the actionable guidance where this is outlining policy, right?
Well, that administrative guidelines is actually getting to procedures. So if this does happen to a special ed student, then what's going to be, what's going to happen in that case? What kind of actions are going to take place?
Yeah.
Which is basically saying the policy references is very vague and indicates we will follow them.
So I think we select that option in green and then just remove the AG 5506 or 5605. And then put administrative guidelines, and then we'll make sure internally that we have something appropriate that supports that.
Okay, I'm moving over to that strike through to get rid of that, as well as the number of the AG there. How about if I would say, in accordance with district's guideline or district guidelines?
That'll work.
That works.
Yep. Do I need to make a note of that or?
I'll go over that.
Okay, so I got rid of the strike through there, and now the sentence says students identified with a disability may be suspended in accordance with district guidelines.
Perfect.
Okay. What's the next one?
Oh, social media. My brain was like flying on this one.
So you're looking at, you want to specify specifically in policy which social media apps are
Well,
acceptable
we're
to use? or-
stating in the policy that staff may, with prior approval or authorization from district administration or school media manager, use social media platform sites for communication about classroom instruction and blah, 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 blah. Are we getting, first of all, so we're saying, but we have the word may, so maybe it's fine. Do we have a list of school approved tools that are coaches, teachers, like obviously we are using Parent Square.
You might have, like,
We
my
use-
daughter's class might have a Remind app.
Uh-huh.
You could have a athletic team that uses Team Reach or Game Changer or any of the other
Yeah.
number of apps that are out there to facilitate information. And I think if you put a list out there that, that would be.
You'd have to constantly be monitoring.
Yeah, because there's gonna be a new one.
I wouldn't do that. I mean, Remind is not owned by parents. So
Yeah.
that's not even gonna be a thing. It's not-
So then-
So like that you cheat chasing something a lot.
Yeah.
When doing this, the other thing, and having battled this in the position in other districts is that compliance becomes super difficult with this, even if you ask for someone's approval, because if we haven't had this in the past, going backwards to become authorized, I don't know, I guess I don't even have any idea at the moment how many sites or how many pages or how many groups on every platform since these have all been built are already out there without approval that people are already connected to.
So do we need to
So
take that
you
statement out?
go and make them compliant then, or would you, I haven't been here very long, I just in previous districts, I just remember, at a point trying to do an audit for this and finding 40 or 50 different ones that have been used and that people are still using for all different types of things. A lot of them have people's private accounts being the ones that manage them at this point in time, because you have no control over social media as far as what the companies require. So even trying to force them into a public, like a different profile than using their personal one. Sometimes you can't do that because the social media company won't allow a person from Wrightstown with that name, your face, to have two accounts because it's, if you get what I'm saying, but then you end up having to look at potentially buying like a, I don't know, social media management platform, Class.com or something like that. So it's.
So as it reads, we are saying staff may use these tools with prior approval. They're not getting approval, so I feel like we need to take that statement out.
Or is the prior approval only district employees? So the coaches that aren't district employees? Well, no, because it would say district approved volunteers.
So the new change right now that
So-
we're attempting to put in there.
I don't feel like I was questioning the new change at all. I felt good with that, but
Existing.
as I was
policy.
reading the policy, I'm like, well, this is alarming to me because
Yes.
it's a policy that we're not following.
Exactly, well, on-type sessions is the retention of public student records, right? So using it for communication, things like that, they gotta be accessible to be recalled. And if you have a cyberbullying case, because someone in whatever app a coach is using is being bullied through it, you gotta be able to access and pull those records.
So
So I think if, you know, the concern is, Nicole, I think changes wise, you're good with everything.
Mhm.
Policy wise, you think we need to crack down on how people in the district are not
Potentially not following.
potentially not following.
can I ask him, before we even go back to that, just a new change, it says identification of a student in any publication and or social media post from the district must be approved by the parents in advance. That's every publication and every social media post? Is that?
I don't think it's every, I think it's like the, picture policy. Or picture waiver that like parents sign. That's the way I read that. But I'm not
That's why,
sure.
that's a very big difference, like, that's why, that's why I'm trying to clarify, I guess, because those are very different. I don't know if Tim can help us out, because we
Yeah, what are
do, we
those
do
two?
have parents sign off on certain publications and photograph, I believe, is part of the 8330 policy, but I can't remember, but it's a student records policy. I recall. I
If
was
the-
reading that when I looked at this originally, and I was like, oh, we gotta get the approval before.
Before you can push the post
Time that
button.
we do it. That's how I was reading it, but that might not be true, so.
Mhm. I mean, I think just to post identification. So if you're gonna name a student in a post of any sort, that's different than just posting a picture with kids in it.
Sure. Yeah, it says identification, so.
Is it different if, I mean, identification is also a picture, right? That's that kid, I know that kid.
You could know that kid, but if you,
I'm asking that, I guess, I'm
Yeah.
playing a little bit of devil's advocate because I'm truly, like, pictures are a part of a student record too, right? So I don't know if Tim can help us with that. Is a picture identification? I mean, we use it literally as an ID. I know it's usually accompanied with a name. but-
Yeah, the context
Picture
of
without
this,
a name identification?
the context of this would be having some sort of name attached to a photo.
So if that's how it's interpreted, then I think we could probably be okay with that, because we're posting
Yeah.
it constantly.
that's how I was interpreting too, but we don't post
This
names,
says
right?
any publications, that's truthfully like, pretty much anytime they post on Parent Square, CISA, anything. Not just social media. Sure they're not using names, right?
They wanted, I think we want publication checked, because one of the things we're talking about later is a newsletter, so if we're
Yeah.
using pictures and identifying students by name, we want that approval before.
Mhm.
Then we need to do a lot of professional development. Kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, I'm,
this is down to the class level, it's kind of what I'm getting at, it's like, you know, maybe the district ones are big, but like, any teacher, every single teacher's class will have a Parent Square account in the fall. As they have had in many other places.
but the class is only to those parents.
Correct,
It's not to the general public.
so,
So,
that's what, like, how, is that a publication then, or not? If it goes out to all the family members in the class, there's 30 students, 60 parents,
So then do we go
Is
back?
that a publication or is that not a publication? I'm just curious.
The parents would probably, I guess I'm questioning too, the parents already have access to the students in their class if they go on a field trip, if they go on. So I don't know that you're sharing a
So-
student record with them.
Is the first
As much-
checkbox more appropriate? Just social media then?
Mhm.
That's kind of where I was going with this one, is to say like, we can probably like,
So it's not
it's gonna
publication.
be, I don't know unless Tim can tell us, and maybe I'm being too strict in my understanding of what a publication is.
I think the other side of that is if you take identification of a student in any social media post, that's it, then it's saying like, okay, my classroom parent square account, I can post, this student's name, I can post, what they're doing, then essentially.
When you go even further, is Parent Square social media? Yeah, how do you define
It is in social media now.
Yeah. I mean, because, I've seen, groups in my kids' classrooms where, here's a class photo and we have this cool event and here's kids, reading in different groups, and it never says that, Melinda and Dan are reading this book. It just shows a.
A photo, yeah.
Right, yeah. I was just worried that we were gonna get in trouble with publication, because that is a lot of.
Well,
other
what is
things.
what is our parent permission? What is this,
Wouldn't that
the
cover them?
language? It should cover it. I just can't remember the exact language of our.
Yeah,
I just
because
registered
that would
my
be,
child.
that would be in advance.
I mean, that is, we do that at the beginning of the year in line district.
So it
and
would
we
cover them for both of those.
Would
The
cover-
publication and social media would cover by that.
We would call it our no media policy, but I don't know.
That covers use of using their photos. So this is specifically related to like, hey, we're not gonna use your child's name until we get your permission.
When I would look at it more of a publication than it's a quarterly newsletter,
A
a monthly
newsletter.
Yeah,
newsletter. that
newsletter,
says,
things we'd submit to.
Melinda's the student of the month,
Things that get published,
congratulations.
Okay.
But think we're good on this?
Any other insight on this, Tim?
Did you catch all that?
That was a good
I think we're
discussion.
digging too deep into what publication is.
Yeah, it's a good discussion. A publication, let's say it's a high school English class that has an English blog. So that information you think is only going to be going to parents of those students in that class. But what's to say that it doesn't go viral because it now crosses over, shared into a social media post? So I'm just trying to point out that once something gets digitized, it's very easy to have that go viral. And my thought on those two options of just social media posts versus publication and or social media would be that there is more risk for the child if you just have social media post listed there rather than including the publication.
We just need to make sure that we talk, like, we have never, I'm trying to be practical.
Yeah.
We're incredibly understaffed, and we have never done registration before, ever. So we've never asked for these consents in the past. You get what I'm saying? Whether that was good or bad, I'm trying to think of the reality of making sure that we.
But you did, didn't you? Didn't we just do it in registration? Isn't there the media?
We did, but the culture of Reddit, I mean, all right, yeah, let's just move on, I'll figure it
You're
out.
good. You ask, parents have the option. Now you have to do something with that information. You need to make sure
I mean,
classroom teachers are aware if they have a
Correct.
media
Yeah.
student.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Office managers in each building know who those kids are.
Yep.
Katie, you doing the social media, like, you need to share that information, but you asked, good job.
Yeah, okay, all right. Let's move on. Yeah, that sounds good.
So we're keeping it as is.
It is, okay.
I mean, because we can't like not check it, right?
We're moving on. No, I'm just kidding.
Make yourself up to liability.
Which is what we ran into at the district, correct?
Well, there multiple student information was shared in that instance, so.
I just want to swing the pendulum from not having it at all to having every single little bit of it crossing every, I think I would love to be able to do that. I'm just trying to feel it, figure out the reality of actually being able, I would have to be easily quickly with the situation that we're in. So it's 3 new principals. We have a new director of special education, new director of teaching and learning, no superintendent, and it's, again, so I'm not trying to, it's just, that's like,
Yeah.
it won't be the first thing
No.
in professional development in a week.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So that's why,
Yeah.
but I hear what he's saying, so let's, I think we just need to go for it, and we'll just do the best we can.
I think the way we've generally been practicing things, we're in okay shades because we're not identifying with names. And that's a big piece in here.
And as long as Fair and Square isn't a publication.
No, it's not.
And Seesaw is not a publication and that kind of thing, then we're
Yeah.
good. We don't even know what we're all publishing is kind of what I'm getting.
Yeah,
There's so much
I would not consider those
availability
publications
that
because
it's-
the public's not
And
available.
they're a
to access.
private group.
If that's
Yeah.
not a publication, I feel very comfortable with it. If
Correct.
that is considered a publication, I'm scared.
I would not consider Parent Square to be a publication.
Okay, if that's good, let's go for it.
Tim, what's your experience as parent in this? Do you have any input as far as Parent Square being considered a publication, or is that truly a means of communication?
Communication tool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, with Parents Squared.
What are other similar platforms?
So like, it's, I guess somewhat similar to like a learning, it's not really a learning management system, but it's very closed off. So in order to get into a classroom, they have to be registered in that roster of that class. And so the family members are in there. And so if pictures go out there of students or names of students and that kind of thing, that would then go by default in the classroom section, it would go to all the families in that particular class. And it wouldn't be technically published to the overall web unless a teacher published to the web,
Which,
right? In which they would have, that's not by default. So if it was just going internally, internally means to the 30 or so students in the class and their parents in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I don't know. But is that considered a publication if they're posting like, we did this awesome stuff and these 2 students won?
So,
Like we would want to try to keep them from saying these 2 students won, right? You know, that type of thing.
so I looked up the definition of publication just in general. It says a preparation and using of a book, journal, piece of music, or other for public sale. So these are all private groups that are not public. So it would be limited to the class of students, the school of Wrightstown. So a publication would then not be any of those things. Would not be Parent Square, would not be any, because Seesaw too, the parents have to be invited in to that group. So it would therefore not be public. Because it would be within our Wrightstown domain. That's the way I'm understanding it.
Did you get that out of the definition policy 0100?
Oh, no, I just did a Google search.
Is it in there?
So then what I did.
Yeah, and we don't even have that. I just checked. We don't have that defined here in that definition anyway. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you on that. I think legal counsel would probably be your best bet to get a response to that because, as I said earlier, anything that's digitized.
I'll scare them away from pushing the publish button. Please don't ever push publish to the left.
It's not the names.
You know,
It
yeah.
don't include the names. It says responsive.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
All right, so I think we're down to food service and wellness. Is that what you're looking
Yeah,
at? I see something about wellness, fundraising, page 2 or 3.
Let me open it. This is, sorry guys, did I do way too deep into some of this? Option A sounds very restrictive. Option B gives more flexibility.
Trying to get to this, get that policy.
I feel like it have to do with fundraising. Under fundraising, at the end of page 2 and into page 3. we have selected, or in green, it says schools will restrict food and beverage marketing to only those foods and beverages that meet the nutrition standards by the USDA, blah, 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 blah. That seems really
That's not a
restrictive to me.
checked piece, that's just a new
Yeah.
piece that they're putting in.
So that
Oh,
like
so-
becomes our policy.
Right, so we're required, by the USDA and the federal guidelines to only offer specific snacks and things for sale. And it's,
So that is different than what we're currently doing. Right? Because don't we
Well-
offer classroom snacks that can be,
they have to
Purchase.
be, they have to be smart snacks, I believe is what they're called.
okay,
So, and that's restricted to certain times of the day. And I think there's only some certain exceptions. But that's the requirement.
So essentially, if we do a fundraising, like the selling candy canes around Christmas, we have to make sure that the candy canes are on that smart snack.
So any of the fundraisers we do.
Mhm.
I mean, this is why I was reading this one going, holy cow, again, we're not doing any of this. We sell cookie dough and pies and chocolates and
Surprisingly, cookies are,
you tell yourself that.
Remember 2007, used to sell candy bars for a fundraiser in the school board. It was like, nope, we gotta follow the new policies and you couldn't sell candy bars anymore.
Or make, what is under marketing? Maybe that's what I would do.
My kid buys from Olive Garden every day. That is not,
Yeah,
seem like it's on the list of healthy snacks.
yeah.
the Doritos aren't on there?
But I
Oh my
think there's
Lord.
there's a
Pop-Tarts,
certain
no.
amount of fundraisers that are
Cheetos.
allowed. like,
Unhealthy.
So there are some ways around it, but
Only those foods that meet the.
Smart Snacks does have a specific section for fundraiser foods. It does say if the food item is sold as a, item being sold as a non-food item or that meets Smart Snacks can be sold anytime. Does not meet the standards, then it cannot be sold to students on campus during the day. You can still do the
Oh,
fundraising
outside.
outside.
right,
okay.
right,
So that's what gets all the other ones.
right. They
Not during the
shouldn't,
day.
they shouldn't be walking around with
Off campus.
box of candy bars.
Spanish
Alcohol.
Club is 10 ounce food.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, Tim, in your guidance here, this is one that legal had reviewed and would need to be in the new green section under fundraising A.
A is what's recommended by our attorneys. If you looked at that drafting note,
Okay.
again, they make every recommendation based on risk management. So can an individual district veer from that? Certainly, but then you always have the consequence of how much extra risk is that adding.
Yeah.
I can tell you that you're not alone in taking letter A. I mean, I think every district I work with took that. So you're not
They've
alone.
got guidelines outlined around there.
Okay.
And then letter B, if you looked at that, does say the district adheres to the DPI fundraiser exemption policy and allows to exempt fundraisers per student organization per school year. So you get two freebies, so to speak.
Okay.
And I do, when I was reading that, I was confusing, like it was green, so I thought we picked that and we were not getting B. And I wanted B.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's both. No check boxes on this one.
Oh, okay.
Anything else with that one? So it looks like next is 8550.
And mine was just a clarification. It just, in
Oh,
A,
well,
it has building principal will select, district compliance coordinator struck through, but the other letter options have complaints go to the district compliance coordinator. So I guess I was just checking if that was missed and needed to be building principal, or if it was supposed to be two separate people.
Hmm.
That's been the right competitive food sales.
I'm not seeing that on the policy.
I
They're not
think
saying
we're
any
not gonna
options
do
in
it.
this one.
Oh.
There was something in your these policies, I remember this.
Yeah, the main change on this particular update was just adding the entire non-discrimination statement, which was not included at all. And the DPI food auditors, food service auditors said we should really have that in there. So we are complying with their requests.
Oh, you're looking at, Melinda, your note is actually supposed to be for 8,500 food services. On page 3, I think, initial request for accommodation on the form could be, I mean, the building principal checked. Is that what you're talking about?
Probably, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
because then, so, yeah. So is it supposed to read those two separate, or is it supposed to stay the district administrator for the second one?
What's the header that's nearest? That
Disability accommodation grievance procedure.
Bottom of page 3.
okay. Disability accommodation grievance procedure. Okay, and the question again was in which paragraph?
I don't think I said by paragraph, but.
Right there. In A.
In A.
Yep, so building principal is selected, but then the other selection is crossed out.
Yeah.
But then later down, it says, district's compliance coordinator for the complaint. Right, and then, and unless I'm misunderstanding this, then in B, it says accommodation coordinator, then the coordinator shall promptly review. So is it supposed to be separated, like the principal and then the coordinator?
It's like a progression of complaint. In other words, you start off
Okay,
at the ground level and let it work its way up.
okay,
And what's listed here is very, very common among school districts that I work with.
okay.
Anything else, sir?
Oh, thank you, John. I think that's it.
Okay. So I think we had 2 policies with some follow-up, and then you're going to have your second reading when?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks at the next meeting, which would be
August
the
20th.
20th.
Okay. Yeah, if you could get those approved, you know, the vast majority of those that we just went through tonight approved by that meeting, that would be great. And then we can go right into the next update, which is volume 34, number 1. And once that gets done, then we'll be working on the most current, which is volume 34, number 2. That was just
And when's the next
Right.
set of updates coming or expected to come after this?
either December or January at the end of this calendar year.
Ideally, we get caught up by, yeah.
Hopefully we never get
So
behind
we
again.
did
Yeah.
July, August, and then we could do September, October, and we could do November, December. We'd be up to date. December, January, we'd be able to.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Can you write that down, John?
I'm writing in my notes here.
Okay.
Yeah, if somebody could just communicate to me when those policies that we reviewed tonight were formally adopted with the board meeting date. I think you said the 20th. So then I will fill out the disposition sheet that has every policy number listed on it. I'll put August 20th on there if it was in fact approved for each of those policies. And then I submit that to our production office. They will clean it up. So all of the strike throughs, all of the green color, all that gets cleaned up, and then it'll be moved into your active policies. So then the public can see that.
Question, Tim, that I have for you related to policies, retired policies. We have them in our policy dropdown. Is there
Yes.
a reason we would want to keep that?
There is. Let's take an example of, let's say that 3 years from now, some parent comes in and makes a complaint about something that they claim happened to their child in the school district on September 8th, 2025. Well, 3 years from now would be 2028. The policy that's in your active may have been changed numerous times by 2028. So the date of the event that a claimant is actually inquiring about, that would have to be reflected by the policy at that time. So that's why it is important to keep the policies by dates so that you know if that ever were to happen in the future, you know exactly what the language was at the time of the claim.
All right. I think the other question I would have is the rejected policy. So rejected drafting material, like, is that something that?
That is not needed. It's something that was put there based on a request by someone from Wrightstown. So that was put there, but it's not typically kept in play as it has been for you. So we could very easily get rid of that.
Where are you seeing this? Or is that only something you see?
No. So if you go to the policy drop down
Mhm.
and you go to draft, and then you go over to the left once that comes up, and then you'll see rejected policies.
Oh,
Way
rejected material.
Yeah.
Way at the bottom of the draft. Yeah.
So, and that's like everything
Those were policies that were not,
adopted by
they
the
were not adopted in the original transition from what we had to Neola.
So, and this is visible public.
Not what is under the draft tab. That is
And so I
not.
think I had that visible before when I was not logged in.
Right.
You know, I was logged out and see.
Would the board like to have the rejected policies removed from the draft?
I think what we would need to do, just because we'd have to make that decision as a board, we can add it to our agenda next meeting.
Sure.
I would be curious to know if there's any pros that you feel, or if there's any cons to it.
Our production office does keep that information. So when I asked if you want to get rid of it, that doesn't mean it's totally and forever gone. So if there ever would be a need to bring that back and put it into draft, we could still do that again.
Do you think that's something that requires board action or if you guys feel like you need to, that's fine?
The little bit that I know about what's happened over the course of the last 6 months, it might be good to have the entire board approve that. You
Okay.
could just, I think what, I'm not sure who was speaking at the time, but you could maybe just add this as an agenda item that is a parallel to the volume 33, number 2 policies.
Okay.
And
All right.
just, here's another, you could even say, here's a recommendation of your Neola associate. I wouldn't mind if you wanted to say that, is that we want to clean up the draft manual sections. And one of the things we'd like to do is to actually take the policy rejections out. And, you know, you could even take out the first draft rough. That's right above the rejections.
Why?
Well, I think it just gets cluttered, you know, when you as you're moving through the different options. But
That's how I never found it.
it's not hurting anybody out there.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt anything. But what Dan said is a good point. It does really, it increases efficiency when you have less clutter with all the different sections, because every year you're going to have at least 4 more sections in there. And after 2 or 3 years, now you've got to scroll back and forth and try to find what are you really looking for.
Yeah.
Sorry. I also see we have sections called out for policies for Ron to approve.
Mhm.
Those probably get cleared out.
I think we'll probably clean that up once we have an official district administrator and work through that.
Now, the other sections that are in there, I'll just say this. Once 33-2 gets formally approved by the board, hopefully on August 20th, then the volume 34, number 1 is actually set up already. So where it says policies for the board, comma 34-1, you could introduce that shortly thereafter, the 33-2. So
Yeah.
what
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
what you did with the Google document, actually, that I think was a good process, but I would appreciate getting that in advance, and I can maybe answer some of those questions. online.
Yeah, sorry about that, Tim.
Little mess, but hey, we tried, right? A for effort.
Better next time.
No problem.
So Tim, the next thing on our agenda deals with policy 8310 open records. So if you wouldn't mind just sticking around for a few minutes, then we'll let you get on with your evening.
Sounds good.
So currently we have open records policy, right? I think what we're looking for is clarity or potential ads or process. Like, we have it laid out, yes, we have public records, but what does that mean when it comes to, you know, how do you take payment for a record? How do you like apply that charge? What is,
Like, are there procedures that other districts have gone through so that we can have a little bit more of a defined procedure for it? Because we've had an increase of open records, and then it's become quite a task.
Okay. Are you finding that you also are having issues with what would be appropriate requests? In other words,
yeah,
are some people asking for things that are not truly a record, a public record?
Right.
correct. Or, you know, it's a broad statement and it's like, you know,
Like all social media posts, texts and things related to a certain subject.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
or person,
yeah.
yes.
and, there's state statute that governs some of that and what is considered a public record for the district and what it's not. We can get into that, but I mean, real high level, like, what have other districts done, I guess, around it, and then what are options possibly into this?
Okay. Well, I can share with you from my own experience as superintendent in Marinette, and that is, we actually never had such a large volume of paper copying that we ever charged anyone. So we never actually initiated any kind of an invoice for someone that had a legitimate request. Some things that I learned.
How do you establish legitimate request, I guess?
Well, if there's no specific public document for something, what I would have done, and this is just me, and not saying you should do this, but I actually vetted that through our legal counsel, and they said, look, we don't have a public document that we can just extract and share with the requester because it's not a document. They're asking us to do searching and work. And oftentimes it was then a matter of, well, that's really not legitimate then. It depends on, with digital now and when I retired, we didn't have a whole lot of social media going on at that time. So I'm not real familiar with that world, but I would encourage that you bring in legal counsel when you suspect that this is just way too much of a burden for the school district, given what the requester is asking for. The other thing is, I would always try to get digital responses rather than paper in terms of saving costs. And I see that you've got 3 cents per page, which is really a low figure. So I don't know. I know Dan is probably thinking, well, Tim, you said we can't make a profit on it, so we recalculated. So there is that fine tune, but paper and everything is going up. So you might want to check that, especially if you have a lot of paper copy requests, because you don't want to lose money either. So you want to make sure that's aligned in terms of black copy versus color copy. If there is going to be a lot of searching for the particular document, in other words, the requester saying, we want a document that shows the data for X, Y, and Z. And maybe you don't have a particular document that comes to mind right away, so you assign a staff member to do some searching on that. That is sometimes that is legitimate, because I don't think there's any one person that would know where are you going to find all of these possible public documents that are housed in the district's archives. So it does take some searching, and yes, you can charge the requester for the staffing cost if it gets to be beyond $50 or more. I never experienced that, but like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of requesters that had enormous volume requests. When COVID hit, I know there were a lot more there was a lot more of that going around with many school districts. And then there was more attention paid to that. I don't know if you did see the state's guideline on this, but the state does have online a document called Wisconsin Public Records Law Compliance Guide, May 2024. So it's fairly updated. This was always a very good tool for me when I started addressing this. And I just think it's a good outline, a good framework. This gets into a lot of the procedures as well, as far as who is the legal custodian. Well, in your district, you don't have one right now because the district administrator position is vacant, but your policy says that the legal custodian of the records would be the district administrator. I mean, the table of contents, as I'm just looking through this, is very wide scoped, and it gives a good understanding as to what really are you responsible to do or not to do. The request itself could be written or oral. There does not have to be any purpose stated by the requester as to why they're requesting what they're requesting. But it does need to be a public record and not just a wild goose chase. And that's where your legal counsel can really help if you think there's maybe some political bent behind the request that is really not in line with the law, namely that it's really not even an existing public document.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, that's what I could recommend. I could actually email this document to Dan if he wants to share it, or maybe you've all seen it already. I don't know.
Yeah, if you don't mind, you got it. I mean,
Yeah, if you want to send it over. I think I've seen what you're referring to, but I can share it with the board so that I can make sure everyone has it.
All right. I would be glad to do that. And
Anything
then
else?
what other districts are doing? Well, the districts that don't have the administrative guidelines from us, I don't know what they're really doing, if they have their own procedures that they're writing. But I think the point that's behind the question you asked, it is important to have procedures documented so that when you have repeated requests, it's being treated in a comparable way, because the public finds out very quickly if you're not having equitable processes in play for all the different requests that may be coming. And that's just yet another negative issue that you have to address as a board. So consistency is very important.
okay.
Anything else for Tim?
I think we're good.
No, thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate your time.
You are welcome. All right. Well, have a good evening. Just let me know if there's anything else I can help with. Otherwise, we'll maybe touch base again with the 34-1.
All right, sounds
Sounds
good.
great. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Tim.
Good night. You bet. Good night.
Good night.
Before we move on, outside of that, is there any, since we have it on our agenda, we can still discuss on it? Outside of now Tim's input, so.
I started doing a little digging, so I shared a doc with you guys, just as examples and things I found on some other pages too. I know Corey shared an example of policy, so just to kind of gather all of that, take a look at it, I guess. And I did reach out to a contact, and then she was like, talk to this person, which I haven't done. So I'm certain Westfield has a pretty linear process to open records. So I'll continue.
I guess the one thing I'd like to see is maybe better define is, you know, that estimate of cost, like, how do we know that, you know, this is gonna take X amount of time at the bare minimum? And typically that's mostly Corey's time from what the requests are that are coming through. That, how do we establish that initial cost that, okay, then you need to be dropping off to the district check so that we can start the process? Because a lot of times, I think what the cycle we are getting stuck in was Corey doesn't know what that estimate truly is to give a real discerned answer to that requester to say, yep, this is going to take 2.5 hours, it's gonna cost you X, Y, and Z. This is what it's gonna be, without essentially doing the work to find out what that is gonna take.
Right.
So I get it, but I guess maybe right now, it's a base cost we can associate to it, or something that is more reflective to the time in that the district resources are having to take to fulfill such requests. I think it's probably also worthwhile to review with legal some of the whether they're public records, or how do you address that some of the goose chasing going on.
I liked that comment, like if it's actually a public document. So if it's not actually a public document, then that's the answer. Like, sorry, this is not a public document.
Or not our responsibility, right? So if we have people requesting for like Facebook Messenger or Instagram, like that's not the school's responsibility to provide that information.
The school's not gonna have.
Well, the school doesn't have that.
I
Yeah,
just,
it's not a record. The school doesn't have.
So it's not actually a public record. So yeah, I think that's gonna be a big one. It's become like, I want to know this information, so you do the
Right.
finding for me.
Yeah.
When it's not actually the school district who should be doing that.
I mean,
all the district is responsible is for
maintaining systems or communications that are on the district systems.
servers, which is essentially email.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess Corey, based on your experience, is there a way to average, or maybe not average, but without having to go through the process? Like, can we get I've done these similar responses. At minimum, it's going to take me 2 hours.
I guess the difference, I think the Madison one had some breakdowns of what things can be charged for and what cannot. So in my position, I'm generally data extraction. I'm not data sorting. I'm not the person who then would also redact, which you cannot charge for. So, but you can charge for sorting, is my understanding. And sorting takes sometimes as long as redacting, because if your results come back, it's considered legitimate. And we come back with 400 emails in that legitimate request, right? Doesn't mean that all 4 of them are actually legit, like, doesn't mean all 400 of them are legitimate responses to it, but it was enough to generate a search in the system that was, you know what I mean? And so then now it takes human intervention to read those, to kind of go, this, although it came up in the search results, isn't at all related to this request. So this is over here, doesn't need redaction, doesn't need to be included. That I think can be charged for, and that does take a lot of time, lots of times more than data extraction. I think what us for it was kind of difficult in that was when you don't have the super, who does the sorting then? Is it my responsibility to do the sorting in that case, to decide from the individual making the request and to work with the attorneys to decide this is the way the request should be written? You know, it's not legitimate until it's this specific, you know, that type of thing, but kind of to whittle it down from a very wide swath of the language to this is now something that can actually legitimately be searched into the system, right? And then once you get it back, what do you do with it, right? So to me, that was where I was really confusing a lot of the time, which was like, I can run the search result. And so if it takes me this long to run that result, to get these, to extract them, there's this many of them. If my benefits and pay are this particular amount per hour, and it takes me this amount of time, I can actually calculate that reasonably well. That's calculated the data extraction cost. Now I take the extracted data and put over 400 emails to somebody else that now needs to go through those and figure out, no, that person has the requester has no business in seeing this particular one, because it really has nothing to do with the request. So over here, this one's over here, this one's over here. Now that they're done, we need to give them to the attorneys so that they can redact the legitimate information. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So like, it sounds silly, but maybe I'm going too far into it, but I think to a degree it might be if we have like, if those roles of what can be charged for are defined, like who does that? Okay, Corey extracts, Dan sorts, sorry, I don't know, or superintendent X, when that happens, is it sorter, you get what I mean? If you decide on that, then you can start doing an actual, like,
Then you can
estimate.
hour.
You can do an estimate then,
Per
because
hour
you actually
charge,
know
right.
who's doing what work and, I mean, a little
Yeah.
bit, but estimates still take time, right? So people have to, I guess we still have that period of time to do that. And I guess I would want some clarification. Here's what I would want clarification on from legal, I guess, is that I know that I have no, like, I can't, when a lot of these requests come and say all correspondence, right? Text message, phone calls, like everything, like, okay, I can only grab what we are retaining, right?
Mhm.
And so what are we responsible to retain? In my mind, is stuff that we gave, the accounts that we gave out, is that, but I don't know if this is legal, right? But like, I'm trying to be as compliant as possible, right? But if some people decide to start text messaging at each other on their own personal accounts and that kind of thing about district business, is that technically a record for legal? Does this make
Yeah.
sense?
Hey,
And I know that I have no business, I don't want to get into that.
Yep.
So my point is that I want to make sure that we're understanding, like, look, this is the responsibility I have. I cannot go do that. You're gonna need, that has to go over here. So that I'm gonna pull that out of your request. I don't know if it becomes a separate one. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
like, you asked for all email, I can get you that for at Wrightstown. That's all I can do. If they use that Gmail, if they use it, whatever, I have no control over that, therefore I will not ask for that. If it's text messages, if they don't have a cell phone account through us, I cannot fulfill that request here. I don't know that I don't know if we have to do that, but if we do have to do that, that has nothing to do with.
Yeah, we don't
us
have a
looking,
record,
right?
so we
I
wouldn't be
can't
able
do that,
to.
and so
Can't see why.
what I'm getting at is I want to, like, implicitly encourage people to, like, not be using official, just, you get what I'm saying in that, or just
Right.
knowing that, but from
Yeah.
reality, I can't control that, nor can I go get it.
Go get it.
Right. Right.
Not a thing I have control.
Right.
So it would be nice to just have, some clarity on that. And I don't know if you found that, Nicole, when you were looking around, like if anybody had an item.
I liked it.
Degree.
Just in a conversation, I know
Okay,
in Westfield, they're sorting fees.
okay,
So
perfect.
I have a name, I'm gonna reach out to her and just
That would be nice.
see if they have something in writing or like a process.
I know Oshkosh had sorting fees too. I talked to their previous deputy superintendent, Dave. That was a thing that I didn't know that you could charge for.
Yeah.
They basically said to us that when you get into this, they have to run referendum once every 2 years. And after the end of each referendum, there was considerable influx of this. So we were ready for that influx,
Yeah.
knowing that people were gonna ask questions, and so they were ready for it. And sorting was a big part of it,
Yeah.
because that takes intelligence. It's not like it's a system can't tell you if it's relevant or not. You really kind of have to look at it. And that part
Yeah.
takes a lot of time. So in absence of having, is that what you want your super doing on a regular, but who do you want?
Right.
Who do you want doing that regularly? Because it's a pretty costly, that is costly if your super's reading that. And then if you're passing it off to legal to have them do it, they're
Yeah.
at least as expensive, maybe not more than the, I don't know if that costs are, but it gets pretty high if you don't have a lot of people to do it. So I think it would be good for us to really define that. And the other thing I would ask for is, and I don't mean to, no disrespect to the board, but when a board member makes an individual request. So board member X wants this information. Are they considered a member of the community and thus subject to all of the same charges as a regular community member? Or are they exempt from those charges because they happen to be a board member? Does this make sense?
Yep.
Right? I would love some clarity on that, because in the last number of months, that's where a lot of it was board member requests against one another. And again, whatever, it's just like, I think there was some not so certain, like, okay, well, I'm on the board, I don't have to pay this. Or not, and I guess I'm not totally clear on whether or not we're allowed to do that. I don't know what the rules are in that, so I would love to have some clarity so that when we're speaking to a board member, it doesn't feel disrespectful either. It's like, I'm not trying to say, but at the same time, if the board hasn't unanimously requested it, or is it different when the board votes on it and says, yes, we all want this? So at that point, maybe it becomes different business and it's no longer an open records request. It's like a board business request, and therefore it doesn't fall under the same
Well,
rules. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't know what
so
that means.
we do actually have that policy in place for a board request of information, and it is supposed to be, so I want information, me
Yeah.
individually. I'm supposed to be stating my reason to the board,
Okay,
and then the board agrees on it or disagrees with it.
okay.
Now, if they disagree, that doesn't mean that I I don't get the information. It's just now I'm making it as a citizen, which when apply fees.
Okay, so that's.
So
the
we do
clarity-
have
that's
it,
the
we
clarity
just-
now. Okay, so
we want-
if that's the way it goes, then I think we need to
No.
try to remember that as a district office, that we enact that to say, if there's a situation where the whole board is asking for it, then of course, we're not gonna go through the fees part of it, because the board is looking for board level information, and that's important for them to run their positions as a board member, but if that's then somehow denied or something, it becomes an individual request, then we do have the right to treat that individual like an individual.
Yep.
Because it's now an individual request.
What I will,
And there's not like a back and forth going like, wait, this, my understanding is the last board meeting, this is now an individual request, and thus I'm going to put it through this process to run it there, which is going to incur fees, right?
Yep.
From the individual, not from the school district. The individual must pay those fees, right? Okay.
Right, I mean, my understanding is that individuals, you are board members, but you really don't have power, for lack of a better word, until when you're sitting at the table together.
Correct.
Together you have
Sure.
power.
Mhm.
Individually, you don't.
So I think so that makes sense to me, and that's the understanding, and that's the way the policy is. I just think we just need to make sure we do that.
we just need to follow it.
Yeah.
It's like, we need to follow
We're not
policies
gonna do
over
a point,
there.
it's like, well, I haven't gotten payment for that, so I'm not releasing the documents.
Yeah.
I don't need to give you a payment. All right.
Yeah.
What do I do? I'm kind of caught between a hard,
Yep.
not gonna hard place right now. I'm not trying to
And,
just trying to follow the,
and it is in our board, I would have to look policy up, but it is in our, guidelines
okay.
on board policy. Cause essentially what we're saying is you would be bringing that information like, hey, I want to request, extraction of data from the last 10 years of report cards, and I want to see that filtered out to X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. And I'm supposed to bring that to the board. Well, the board should be going, okay, well, what's your reasoning for it? Like, explain, like, what are you looking for, right? So that the board can decide, yes, this is something that we feel the board necessary to devote their time and efforts into pursuing, or great, you like data, you can go
Yeah, have fun, yeah.
request it, but you're gonna pay for it.
So in that way, then if the board votes for it, that makes sense to me. It's really not, I don't know if it's technically considered an open record, but it's not gonna follow the same process. There's not gonna be charges for it. There's not gonna be estimates for it. We're just gonna get the data for you, and then you're gonna do with even the board.
Hey.
You voted to get it. That
And-
makes sense.
Typically, then with a board requesting it for board responsibilities and it's not redacted, so you're not getting
Right,
that.
exactly. I'm not gonna go through, you have the right to see some of that private information, but you can keep it private to a degree, to what's, your role as a board member. So we don't have to go through a lot of the same level. In some ways, it's less work because we're not technically releasing as a public request.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to make sure that that was clear, because I felt like that caused, well, it's just whatever, it was just unclear. So
Yeah.
we were kind of having lots of internal discussion to figure out how we handle it. That's not very efficient.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Anything else? I saw, I think there's some things we can kind of dig into, and bring back, probably want to put some clarity around that, policy, but anything else with the 8310? Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion regarding options for possibly creating a quarterly district newsletter.
Okay. So I sent this out in email. Dan, I just sent it to you. I don't know, I don't know if everybody
Do you want
looked at the
Do you want to pull it up
samples.
on the screen?
If you don't mind, I did forward it to everybody just to put it kind of at the top of your email, but I don't know if it went through. Okay. So just to look at the samples, I'm just wondering if, I know other districts do it and they send it out quarterly, and it's kind of high level of information that's happening from the district. And I'm thinking of people who don't get our school emails, maybe grandma, grandpas, they just live in the district, but still like to be like,
In the know.
yeah, in the know of what's going on. They'll probably see one of us and be like, oh, I was gonna ask you, I saw in the newspaper, blah, 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 blah. But then that got me thinking, right, but we have so many cool things that the district is doing that's probably not really getting to the community. So, and you write the narrative or somebody else will do it for you. So there's a lot of positive things. I know in here I mentioned too, and we just talked about students' names, like that whole thing, but like a lot of this is not, you have like one act play, attend the state theater festival. Do they have the names in there?
I haven't seen any names in any of them.
There's one of them that had names, most of them haven't. If you take a look at the Kakana one, they have a name of the individual picture.
But if it's going
So
out
this one,
quarterly,
they
it's a lot easier to get some consent.
Ahead
Yeah.
of time,
If it's-
right,
And then this is gonna be one publisher, right?
Yes.
Rather than like 40, 50 different staff members being able to publish anytime every month.
exactly.
There's a little bit more control and probably there's a draft where you could send.
Exactly, and being that it's quarterly, it's kind of like a top highlight of, and if you look at this one, it's all over the board. It's, activities, it's sports, it's school-related things, it's,
Really, I see a lot of the, I mean, we talked about this before, when our administrators give their spiels and their updates, like a lot of those cool things that they're telling us about. I would love to see, like, I'd love for everyone to know about it, like, let's
Yeah.
share that information.
Do you know who they're using to, or who is publishing this?
well, some of them are just Canva. It's a template, and then the, district
I used to do this in
administrator.
the previous district I was in,
Mhm.
did it quarterly, and so as an administrator, every administrator, very much like the reports here, had a section there. Because we were again a little shorter staff, we would do a lot of, some of the pictures in a certain way, and we had just a subcontracted individual that would kind of put it together for us at the end of it, but it was like, wasn't very expensive, that person was an alumni, so they gave us like a 90% discount, so it's very, very little that could be done, but we actually, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking of people that we have, who actually have design
Mhm.
degrees.
Degrees.
Sure.
And would love to probably help us with this, if it's not saying. But there's like just a small amount, or like, or something like that.
Yeah,
I do know that there's groups that, that focus on, communication to the public. The Donovan group is one of them. I don't know what it would cost to do something like that, but we could also look for, a community.
So I mean,
To do that.
I'm not looking for more work, but Canva, we do have the district's license now through that is the paid for version of it. We also have what's called I haven't told you this yet, Dan, but we have it. It's called a community group inside of Parent Square. So essentially, we've never been able to mass broadcast like people who weren't in the school district before.
Mhm.
In a community group, you can set up multiple different lists for people to subscribe to say like, I'd like to be on your email. I'd like to be on your list for when you guys do that. So the quarterly newsletter, let's subscribe to that. Cool. Go to the site here, subscribe, put your email address in there, don't care how old you are, where you're from, all that kind of stuff. You can
Yeah.
get this email when it comes out. You can still send it by mail too, but if it was already coming in a format like this, it would take a few seconds to go,
Right.
quarterly newsletter's ready, and then you push it out to families and whatever, and you just choose that one community group. And that group also then just gets this, and then they can choose to unsubscribe themselves or subscribe themselves to
Which
it.
would be great.
They could be a part of any type of thing that we want those groups to hit. Same thing with like people in the weather or just any of that different stuff. If they want to be on the list to hear it first from the district. They could sign up for that.
I'd be curious to know if there's districts that have put this into more of like a club type, or, where.
Like through the high school club?
Yeah, like
Like
you
the
have students
writing or-
that are actively wanting to pursue something, whether it's graphic design or whatever, but this is a good thing to get them involved and to potentially offer something else within the community. There's also, I know other districts that have presses where you could do actually a press copy of it. Where could we have them so that they're at least in the district office? Like, could we spin this a little bit more into something else? And not just a newsletter, but also getting students involved, getting, maybe some club activities and things like that. Not saying that that's where we start, but
Yeah, because that would take several steps to get first a class and advisor to be able to do it, and then how long it takes them to be able to do it. And is the class quarterly Or is the club all year? But I like because print versions, I wouldn't doubt that the
Put 'em at
business
the grocery
associations
store
would,
and-
yeah, would easily.
Not a lot of
Put
them, but
them-
you know, you have handfuls of them that at least people can grab too. And
Here on the ones that you found, are those generally going out to just the entire mailing list of everybody who's a taxpayer?
Yes, I will say I receive West De Pere's quite, I have a De Pere address, but I am in the right town, and I get West De Pere's
Yeah, I just
every
was
quarter.
wondering, it was like in the previous district, it was only quarterly, it was a little bit costly, but they just basically postal customers, it's like here and that. Like,
If you're-
municipalities. once a
The only
quarter,
thing-
you're good
So you're in that zip code? and here you go.
Yeah,
Correct.
so you're in the zip code, you get this one.
So the only thing I wondered if you go in and select the routes, I swear at one time, Marion Kaufman, which would be a couple back, knew exactly which routes to send it to. And my thought was, when I was thinking this through, just postcard goes out explaining, like, certain, school district is starting a digital newsletter quarterly. Would you be interested in getting it? And then like have a QR code scan or website so that they can just sign up.
Yeah.
So that might be costly because you're trying to catch everybody, but then you don't have, which I bet you it's kind of nice though to see their newsletters.
Like I said, before
What's going on, but-
before we enrolled our kid, we thought we were in the West Superior School District for that reason. It's like, well, I'm calling about pre-K and they're like, you're right, sound. Yeah, I mean, that,
Okay.
yeah, like, it can mess with you if you don't know what school district you're in. But like I said, from then on, we've always received it.
Mhm.
We've never been taken off the list.
Or I mean, for sake of time, does it matter? You know, if you're sending out digitally and
Yeah.
maybe
Mail sorting
Posting
can be a pain
around.
in the keister anyway, but
because you just want to skip that step so you can put in the process.
Yeah, I'd say if we're gonna post it around, we can skip probably that mail out step, because
Mhm.
if you're, if they're at Dick's or something like that and saying, yeah,
They can
they can
grab it.
register from there.
Yeah.
You
Just
know,
include the QR code.
we do have, an advertisement policy. So like eventually if we wanted to get to more of a paper side of it, yeah, I got some printing companies directly in the area, Pro Impact Printing. Granted, they're not newspaper printing, but they are in the printing world, that they might show some interest in wanting to
Yeah, you can finish it.
Help us
do
out, yeah.
some of that. So.
Yeah, so I don't know where we would go from this stuff, or like if we vote on it, or I just thought I see other districts and I'm like, this would just be really nice for our district.
who do you see organizing the
Managing it.
content and being the person to, you gotta have somebody in charge.
Some of them was actually the district.
And West Superior, it's a district
Okay.
administrator or secretary.
Secretary,
Okay.
yes, into that word.
Okay.
Who does it?
Falls to basically the administrators put together the stuff, but then
Yeah.
that individual was compiling the pictures and formatting the information and kind of just making sure that whatever was given to that individual looked nice and, and that kind of.
I guess
The
in
contractor helped distribute basically.
my head, I kind of was going the Canva route where you can set up a template and then you have a group. And so you could have specific people that have rights to put stuff in, but then I was thinking one person
You need one.
Proof of-
that, yeah,
Yeah.
like that has that graphic
Yeah.
design eye that goes, let's change this. Yeah, brilliance was nice too. Change this, let's change that, at least to start, to see how people feel about it. Like, are we getting people that are, you go to Dick's and they're all gone? Are more people asking about how to get the newsletter? Like, yeah. So.
Well, I think what we could do is, I think we would want to probably get some feelers out with staff to know, like, who could we maybe lean on to do a trial run of it?
I mean, I don't think anyone's just gonna volunteer
Yeah.
to do this. Like, I
Especially
don't-
this time of the year, let me tell you, school's starting.
I
I mean-
don't know if you ever find somebody who has enough.
We could look at creating a stipend position to do that and then, you know,
We've been thinking about this a little bit
Yeah.
already because we published a new website in January. I have already put together 2 proposals and gotten some proposals back from people in the community to say, like, could you come and take some very high quality photographs of a variety of different things, like, I need you to come in 4 seasons. So come in the spring, take a bunch of photographs, at least 10 per season or something like that, at a very high level, so that when we publish a website, it is full of really good photographs and very good, I mean, a kind of like short video type of thing, because the template will look great, but if it just has buildings on it,
Doesn't have the right
it's
concept.
not gonna be awesome, because it's not gonna have any actual children on it who are learning, and it's just gonna be facilities, which we have great facilities, that's nice, but we're not doing it to make nice facilities, so I don't want to volunteer a staff member. We have a staff member that is semi-interested in doing some of this type of work to keep that person's kind of other part of their professional world. Person teaches this type of stuff too, but is busy because it's already volunteering for like 9 different things in the school district. So it's kind of like, at what point do they pull back and go like, that's right, I'm a full-time teacher first. That's right. I do that, and I also do this. So I like the idea of having like maybe the stipend is attached to an actual product, it's being done.
Yeah.
Right, so you know what you're getting for your money. It's not like wondering, like, did we waste money on this stipend? If there's a real product, you're gonna know an answer to that
I mean,
pretty quickly.
this one's the only way I could see it, like, we don't have a district secretary right now, so they won't know it wasn't part of their job, but it becomes part of their job. Now, they actually manage that, right, like, I don't know how that would, but,
But also,
Throw that out
like,
there.
if we went the stipend position route, we could potentially have the principals, take a look, when they have a staff meeting, say, hey, we're looking at creating this. If there's anyone that's interested in helping out, let us know. That would give all staff an opportunity to take a look at it. If that doesn't pan out, we could utilize our social media piece to say, hey, we're looking for this.
And that's a good point too. So maybe administrators, but then some people from each building. And then it would kind of spread out the.
No matter what, it's gonna be a collaborative role. Whoever you get to do
Absolutely.
this is not going to know all of the things put in here. So it's going to have to be like, I'm in charge of this department, therefore I would provide these updates because these are the things I'm thinking about putting in there. If I'm a building principal, I know that I have a quarterly update, so I collect some things for the elementary, for the middle, for the high, and then activities would do their thing. I would imagine, depending on whether it might even watch facilities or, things like that, I would think couldn't really just put it on one person to say like, go unearth all of the updates of the district. It's just you're gonna have to give them something to do. That person's job is largely to compile and publish on time, that type of thing. But the rest of it is to make sure like, hey, I don't have yours for the middle school yet, or I don't have yours for the, can you kind of get it to me? Our publication rates this, maybe just kind of like the organizer of the concept.
who's our yearbook advisory?
Don't really answer that. Find out.
No, but I was just talking out loud, but I'm wondering, that's
Because
whatever.
that would naturally have some things that could lead into the
Whatever
yearbook.
stipend goes with, like, maybe that's a similar, I don't know, you call them category, E category, whatever. So not technically a coaching, but an extracurricular or something, and that kind of gets created there. Yeah.
As a rate, right?
Okay, so what are our next steps with this then?
Well, I think it's probably worthwhile for us to, I guess there's a couple of options, right? I mean, we are currently without an admin. Like, do we know we want to do it? Is it like, that's something we want to tackle in the next first half of the year, right?
But with it being in the beginning, I see somewhat it being advantageous because we're at the beginning of a school year.
Yeah.
So it could start now. If we have, while you were gone, Dan, Nikki mentioned about the yearbook stipend. Could that be something that is something similar to that? So it's easy to create something like that. But like in-service starts 2 weeks. So if that was
New
posed,
teachers is Wednesday.
if it was posed out to their beginning staff meetings, that would definitely get the ball rolling to know,
Yeah.
hey, we have people interested, put it on their radar. Here's when we want the first quarterly newsletter because of our school calendar. You know, we could, some of these things would literally be circling dates, like, okay, this would be a quarter, and go through. And then it would just be finding the people, have them pick a template maybe for everybody to look at. And then coming back to us. Or does it need to come back to us? I mean, if I would trust if the ball gets rolling, like
Someone will do it well.
someone
Yeah.
will, yeah, somebody will do it well and,
We have examples for them. This is our vision.
Make it happen.
yeah. Cause they, sometimes teachers work on less than that. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure that, you know, it needs like board approval to do that, but I mean, obviously you guys standing here, we're sitting here and saying, we want to do this, you know, I'm not hearing anyone against it, so. you know, we can-
would this be creating a position, but we would need to approve that position? Or no?
Well, it's a,
Or is it
it's a
operational?
stipend position, so I mean, I would think that it's operational, like,
Okay,
you know, how we handled social media,
Mm.
I don't believe it's brought. What like to change the way we did that, we had a contract with a company before and brought that in-house, so. That was all done administratively, so,
okay.
you know, we're not hiring a full-time employee to do that, so. I think we can work that out internally.
Okay. So I guess to say like, okay, we don't necessarily, it's not board action, but we're talking about, so like, is it like literally an email to the school principals and just kind of, or,
Yeah, we have an admin meeting on Monday. We can talk about that.
Okay.
Get
Would
that
it be
ball.
helpful
I
to
would say it's gonna be hard, but I hate to say it, but if we don't find this, like a service owner for this.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little bit where I love the idea, let's put it out there.
It just falls under
I think it's
technology,
excellent. I think
right?
we need to do it. I think it's a good thing.
You're gonna do it? Okay. Oh, then you're-
So I'm just like.
We cannot be here any later. I'm gonna advocate for him. No.
So I just think that, I guess there's a lot of people doing a lot of other jobs right now. They're all, and they all get it, you know, or they get short terms. I think it's an excellent idea. I think definitely it's good. I don't want to see it do, like, it's pushed through. It's like, okay, this position is now, like, who's gonna own it? So if we can find an owner, you know, for that period of time. And that doesn't mean that they're gonna do it all by themselves.
Mhm.
But they, again, they could be the
Yeah.
final, the dates, this, needs to get sent, you know, they kind of have, that they're gonna need help from administration. You know, and a variety of other people to do it, just kind of like social media, Katie can't do social media without people submitting.
Yeah.
It's not, it's just nearly impossible to do, right? So. It'd be similar to that type of thing, I think. So we just need to make sure we end up with a point individual that, you know, we're kind of beholden to a little bit, helping them get to this point where if it doesn't fall on a specific position, that's how we can a little bit.
So do you think it makes sense then if you have an admin meeting, you said Monday, maybe taking our vision
Yep.
to them, maybe showing them these examples?
Yep.
Just kind of summarizing the things that we talked about and seeing, maybe getting their feedback, what are, like,
Sure.
do they have ideas or people or?
Yep, we can do that, and then we could always provide an update as one of our admin updates and just let them know how things are going.
Yeah, that would be great.
yeah. My thought was going to, like, if there was somebody that wanted to be like a point person from the board, like maybe there's, when I say point person, but like if they're gonna meet for, hey, I'm going over the draft or something, like to help engage that more.
I'd be a point person, but I don't know if that gets to be more operational. Unless I would be point person and then once it's off running, I'm like, okay, you got it. You're good.
I think so, just to make sure, like, they don't have questions, like, I'm sure they're, whoever that person is wants to make sure that, is this what you were thinking, like,
Mhm.
Plus, it also depends how we want to structure it too. Some of these have like, hey, here's the superintendent's note, here's a note or, some information from the school board, right? It's like, we're gonna have a section with the school board, obviously, we want a point person for them to be able to work through.
Right.
I would be good with you guys having the staff meeting putting it on our agenda for conversation on our board meeting. Just what would that feedback look like?
At the next
Yeah.
workshop. Okay.
That's my thought anyways. Oh,
You're thinking, I need to have it for, add an update, we talked about it, that could be the next board meeting on the 20th, right? So you guys are gonna meet Monday, Tom.
Yeah, we certainly could let you know, kind of what came out of the admin meeting and, the directions that we're looking at going. I don't know if we'd be able to have a draft.
No.
By the next-
No, not a draft.
Okay.
Just
Does
like-
that wind beneath its wings or?
Yeah,
is this,
yeah.
you
Is
know,
there interest or was it like
Yeah.
a lead balloon? If you everybody's like, oh,
Was it
no,
like-
you know.
Like
I
draft.
can't see anyone's gonna not want it. I think that, again, just as I'm reiterating before, almost every administrator hasn't started a school year in their
Yeah.
current position. So like,
Right.
it takes a
all
little bit
very
of
new
time
for
to
us.
even recognize, like, so what are we doing here? And I know they're gonna, I don't mean to, I don't mean that to come across as negative. I just, they need a little time to kind of like
Right.
learn what's positive and what should I show, some of those types of things. So I think, I'm sure everyone's gonna like the idea, for sure. Want to make sure they're able to do it, and just because there's so much change right now.
Okay. So provide an update at the next board meeting, and then if we need to, we can put it into the next workshop, but just, hey, how things going are. Yeah, maybe we like the idea, but we need some breaking time, or,
Sure.
this is what we're thinking.
Or if it, it's quarterly, but it doesn't start till winter. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Or something like that, I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be nice to start in fall, I agree. It would definitely be perfect.
Well, I was thinking, even if it follows, it would be the report card schedule,
Okay.
right? Well, I mean, potentially,
Yeah.
Quarters.
So the first one would be then.
November.
Or something.
Mhm. So that gives plenty of time to kind of collect back to school. Yeah.
Kicking
Yeah.
off the
I'm
year
thinking too, if we,
content.
I'm not gonna try and push the website thing, but if we do decide to move forward with some of those proposals of getting some of those professional shots per season, that would actually help this, because it can be used in places. And then if we have an actual person that's going to take those photographs and like, that type of, kind of,
Yeah, yeah, like,
we want to reduce cost, but at the same time, it's nice to have a positive message and sometimes to get positive PR, just capture what's going on.
Okay. Any more conversations on the newsletter? All right, next on the agenda, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second. the motion.
All those in favor? All
I-
right. Anyone opposed?
8:33.
Yep.
All right,
Got it.